I'm going to tell you a story with a happy ending. Once upon a time, a lonely boy in South Carolina was sparked by the wonder of movies, where he was captivated by everything from cowboys to comedians to movie monsters. And then he saw his first musical, Flying Down to Rio, which introduced him to two magical people named Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. The boy that Martin Scorsese speaks of is none other than Stanley Donen, a child who, after seeing Flying Down to Rio, decided he wanted to dedicate his life to letting others escape reality by watching films like that one. His idol from that day on was Fred Astaire. In time, his dreams came true. He even got to work with his favorite, but most importantly, he made it possible for many of us to dream. And I felt as if an atomic bomb had exploded inside me. Watching that specific film, then seeing Fred Astaire, watching musicals, I felt like I was living it, right there in the theater where they were shown, and from that moment on, no one could keep me away from movie houses. Stanley Donen wasn't just another director. He wasn't just a director of musicals, nor just a director of comedies. He was a capital D director, an innovator in the musical, imbuing it with freshness and imaginative visual solutions that made him unique. But if he was an innovator in the musical, he was no less so in sophisticated, romantic, or dramatic comedy, where he always went a step further, making us laugh or telling stories of love and heartbreak as fragmented as our memories. Yeah. Happy with this film? The truth is, it doesn't quite satisfy me. I would like to remake them all. Donen was a humble man who never bragged about his successes. He ended his directing career too prematurely. Fate had it that the dream, which had taken off for Rio de Janeiro, would also land in Rio 50 years later. Afterwards, there was a television movie, but that solitary title didn't quench our thirst for the talent of a man who made our lives happier. Film Academy didn't keep him in mind when he was still active either. He only received one Oscar, the honorary one. Donen took the opportunity to do what he knew best, give a lesson in cinema gay. George and Ira Gershwin, or Arthur Freed and Herb Brown, or Leonard Bernstein and Comden and Green, or Alan Lerner and Fritz Loehr, like that. Then you cast Cary Grant, or Audrey Hepburn, Fred, Gene Kelly, Sophia Loren, Richard Burton, Rex Harrison, Gregory Peck, Elizabeth Taylor, Burt Reynolds, Gene Hackman, or Frank Sinatra, like that. And when filming starts, you show up and you stay the hell out of the way. Eternal child, whose name is synonymous with cinema.
I completely disagree with Jean-Luc Godard when he says that cinema is truth 24 times per second. For me, cinema is a lie 24 times per second.
To say Stanley Donen is to say childhood joy and the zest for life, Childhood, because those of us who belong to the generation that could enjoy the best movies on TV and double features at the cinema feel transported by his films to that magical universe Fred Astaire once took him to. Joy, because no one else knew how to put a face to that feeling that lengthens life like he did. For that simple reason, as powerful as it is brief, the mere memory of him fills us with joy. But Stanley Donen also wanted to delve into the wilder and more absurd side of human beings that war brings to light. And long before Lars von Trier in Dancer in the Dark, Donen turned a factory into a surprising stage to highlight the precarious situation of the working class. In The Pajama Game, one of his greatest titles, is one of his 4 fortunate collaborations with his best friend, Bob Fosse. His self-reflection turned him into an incisive chronicler of the deterioration of romantic relationships, especially when a couple lacks the words. And for this, he created a fascinating puzzle in which, paradoxically, the passage of time gave the impression of being timeless.
It was very important to us to do it that way in that film, because the story was about a couple's relationship over several years. And I wanted the film to give the impression that it was all happening in the present.
As if life wanted to imitate art, the golden shell that Two for the Road received in 1967 could not be collected by its creator until 1996. Stanley Donen's talent was so immense that, despite considering himself a realistic director interested in the here and now, he was literally incapable of keeping his feet on the ground. His cinema breathes humanism. Stanley Donen loves his characters, and perhaps that is why he seems to grant them the freedom to choose their own path. That is why his films do not age. They are alive.
More than anything else, what matters to me is what the film has to say.
Born on April 13, 1924, in Columbia, he arrived in New York at just 16 to try his luck on Broadway, and Broadway remained in his heart. He didn't do so badly at all. He landed a small role in the musical Pal Joey, and most importantly, the friendship of his 2 future fairy godparents, director George Abbott and the sure-to-be-immortal star Gene Kelly. Time confirmed they were right to bet on this scrawny-looking young man with an iron will. At 25, he co-directed his first film, On the Town, with Kelly, and by 28, he already had a masterpiece under his belt, Singin' in the Rain.
Well, it didn't seem that fast to me. I spent 7 or 8 years in Hollywood doing all kinds of jobs in film.
Before having his own director's chair, Donen was an uncredited choreography assistant on titles that hinted his imagination and technical skill were outstanding. In CoverGirl, always alongside Gene Kelly, he made the dancer split screen possible and gave dance a psychological meaning. Dreaming one night of his friend Gene Kelly and Mickey Mouse, the iconic sequence for Anchors Away was born. Though Disney's refusal to provide their star turned Jerry the Mouse into his animated dance partner,
always with Kelly and On the Town, he breathed new life into the traditional musical by taking the cameras out to the streets.
We did everything together and debated every single issue. And it wasn't all that simple because at times we didn't fully agree.
Happy but never satisfied, Donen felt he wanted more dances, and he made up for it in Singin' in the Rain. Arthur Freed, the godfather of MGM musicals, trusted them, and the Kelly-Donen tandem rewarded him with a work of art full of joyful numbers, including what is undoubtedly the emblem of the genre.
Dancing with Joy is a great foundation for creating a musical number. I don't know if it's the best, but it's the one used most often.
It's Always Fair Weather marked the split of the pair. It was much more melancholic than their previous collaborations. Donen once again put into practice one of the secrets of his success, letting the stars do what they did best. If Gene Kelly was an expert skater, why not show it off? In the same way, Donen had previously struck gold by letting Donald O'Connor unleash the tightrope walker inside him. And if Fred Astaire, his beloved Fred Astaire, seemed to float, why not make him actually float? That's how what is probably still his most famous trick was born.
We had a large wheel like this, with gears, on the edges. We built this room with all 4 of its walls. The camera was on the floor, but never pointed outside the walls of the room. So when we wanted Fred to dance on this wall, we would very slowly rotate the entire rig until this wall, represented now by my hand, was the floor.
Often defying musical conventions and, above all, gravity, the semi-forgotten Three Little Girls in Blue contains some of his most complex numbers. For Donen, dance was a polysemic art.
The studio was horrified because I also wanted to cast dancers in the male roles. They said the film would be a disaster because no one would believe that men who spend all day chopping wood could dance. We clearly saw the film in opposite ways, the studio and I, which led to huge arguments which I won through persistence, as I never give up.
Frustrated by the arguments with the studio, but not defeated, Don became a producer to try to stay true to himself.
I was eager to make films in a genre other than the musical. I didn't want to be known as the man who made musicals. I didn't want to be the musical equivalent of Alfred Hitchcock in the thriller genre.
In this way, he reunited with Cary Grant, who convinced Ingrid Bergman to star in Indiscreet without even reading the script.
That film was made in 1957 when you couldn't put Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman in bed together. I was very keen to find a way to show them in bed, touching and loving each other. I set up the 2 shots so that my eyes could see them at the same time. And we filmed both scenes at once, lighting them, and using 2 cameras. Grant number.
Of their 4 excellent collaborations, Kiss Them For Me, the aforementioned Indiscreet, The Grass Is Greener, and Charade, we confess our adoration for the latter. While Donen always showed an inclination for artifice, turning theater and film into the setting and subject of many of his movies. In Charade, the game of pretending to be someone else is sublime.
We both remained friends until the moment of his death. This watch I'm wearing, I gave it to him in 1960, and when he died, he left it to me in his will to give it back.
2 comedies with Yul Brynner, a biographical film about the American composer Sigmund Romberg. A Folly Born in the Shadow of Charade.
I was forced to try to dazzle the eyes while keeping the brain asleep.
A portrait of a homosexual couple with the faces of Rex Harrison and Richard Burton.
Harry. Harry!
The adaptation of The Little Prince with a sequence by Bob Fosse for the ages. A sci-fi film, an adventure set during Prohibition, and an entertaining yet inconsequential remake of a French comedy are among his other titles. Careful credit design, and a rhythm inherent to his personality that made even his non-musical films seem choreographed are two key elements in all his work. But Donen always had a soft spot for three of his films. Bedazzled is a hilarious satire on the Faust myth, a theme he had actually already touched upon in the adorable Damn Yankees.
We were able to establish that premise and make people laugh while also saying, don't say your soul. I know people are tempted just as I am, because if I don't make more films, it's because I'm resisting the temptation.
Movie, a double feature in reduced format, was a sentimental journey to the cinema of his childhood. On one hand, the socially conscious Warner Bros. Films of the 30s. On the other, a dazzling tribute to the lavish productions of Busby Berkeley, a creator he thought he hated for years until he had always held him dear.
If Singin' in the Rain is the gold standard of happiness for everyone else, for Stanley Donen it was Funny Face, and in his estimation, it had no equal.
One of the most thrilling moments I've ever experienced directing is the beginning of a song titled Bonjour Paris, when Fred Astaire gets out of a taxi and crosses the Champs-Élysées and suddenly breaks into song and dance. When I filmed that, I got goosebumps. It was Fred Astaire in Paris feeling that moment, and I was the one filming it. I've never had another moment of excitement as great as that one.
Director, producer, dancer, screenwriter, choreographer. Stanley Donen was a titan of cinema.
I will only retire when I'm buried.
Incomprehensibly, we were left without his films too soon, but the ones he made have filled our lives. Stanley Donen's films are multidimensional, in that fourth dimension that is time, and in that fifth dimension that is pure sensation, the untransmittable, the subjective par excellence. Without Stanley Donen, the world seems much smaller.
A dancer, you immediately realize the best spot from which to see what they are doing. Had that very elegant, graceful quality. His singing and his dancing is effortless. You feel as though he's without gravity, that he floats through the air. And Gene, because he was so different from Fred, changed what musical films had done. They were very narrow in general. And Gene wanted to explore other avenues. So that is what he brought. By the time of Singin', we were co-directors. But he was an actor, and I was a director, really. I mean, he basically was in front of the camera, and I was basically behind the camera. So we really did complement each other. I met Arthur Freed while being employed in films at MGM, and I was a dancer and assistant choreographer. He was not only helpful to me, but he had the desire to make musical films in particular that were fresh. Making things different is hard. The body is very limited in what it can do. So we've seen great dancers. I never wanted to be a performer. I really wanted to make movies. How could I say I want to be Fred, or Cary Grant, or Gene Kelly? It's not in me to do. Premium.com. 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 Premium.com, cock.